Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio, Italian. Born November 11, 1974, is an American actor and film producer. Known for his work in biographical and period films, he is the recipient of numerous accolades, including an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, and 3 Golden Globe Awards. As of 2019, his films have grossed over $7.2 billion worldwide, and he has been placed 8 times in annual rankings of the world's highest-paid actors. Born in Los Angeles, DiCaprio began his career in the late 1980s by appearing in television commercials. In the early 1990s, he had recurring roles in various television shows, such as the sitcom Parenthood, and had his first major film part as Arthur Tobias Wolfe in This Boy's Life 1993. He received critical acclaim and his first Academy Award and Golden Globe Award nominations for his performance as a developmentally disabled boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape 1993. DiCaprio achieved international stardom with the star-crossed romances Romeo plus Juliet 1996 and Titanic 1997. After the latter became the highest-grossing film at the time, he reduced his workload for a few years. In an attempt to shed his image of a romantic hero, DiCaprio sought roles in other genres, including the 2002 crime dramas Catch Me If You Can and Gangs of New York. The latter marked the first of his many successful collaborations with director Martin Scorsese. DiCaprio continued to gain acclaim for his performances in the biopic The Aviator 2004, the political thriller Blood Diamond 2006, the crime drama The Departed 2006, and the romantic drama Revolutionary Road 2008. In the following decades, he made environmental documentaries and starred in several high-profile directors' successful projects, including the action thriller Inception 2010, the western Django Unchained 2012, the biopic The Wolf of Wall Street 2013, the survival drama The Revenant 2015, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor, and the comedy dramas Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2019 and Don't Look Up 2021. DiCaprio is the founder of Appian Way Productions, a production company that has made some of his films, and the documentary series Greensburg 2008 to 2010 on the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, a nonprofit organization devoted to promoting environmental awareness. A United Nations Messenger of Peace, he regularly supports charitable causes. In 2005, he was named a Commander of the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres for his contributions to the arts, and in 2016, he appeared in Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World. DiCaprio was voted one of the 50 greatest actors of all time in a 2022 readers' poll by Empire. Early life and acting background. Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio was born on November 11, 1974, in Los Angeles, California. He is the only child of Irma Nayden Birkin, a legal secretary, and George DiCaprio, an underground comics artist and distributor. They met while attending college and moved to Los Angeles after graduating. His mother is German, and his father is of Italian and German descent. His maternal grandfather, Wilhelm den Birkin, was German, and his maternal grandmother, Helene den Birkin, was a Russian immigrant living in Germany. DiCaprio was raised as a Catholic. Sources have falsely claimed his maternal grandmother was born in Odessa, Ukraine. There is no evidence that DiCaprio has any relatives of Ukrainian birth or heritage. DiCaprio's parents named him Leonardo because his pregnant mother first felt him kick while she was looking at a Leonardo da Vinci painting in the Uffizi Museum in Florence, Italy. When DiCaprio was 1 year old, his father moved out of their house after he fell in love with another woman. Because his parents wanted to raise him together, they moved into twin cottages with a shared garden in Echo Park, a neighborhood in Los Angeles. DiCaprio's father lived with his girlfriend and her son, Adam Ferrar, with whom DiCaprio developed a close relationship as they grew up. DiCaprio and his mother later moved to other neighborhoods, such as Los Feliz, while she was employed in several jobs. He attended the Los Angeles Center for Enriched Studies for 4 years and later the Seeds Elementary School, before enrolling at the John Marshall High School. DiCaprio later said that he had hated public school and wanted to audition for acting jobs instead. He dropped out of high school later, eventually earning a general equivalency diploma. DiCaprio has said his career choice as a child was to become a marine biologist or an actor. He eventually favored the latter as he liked impersonating characters and imitating people and seeing their reaction to his acting. His interest in performing began at the age of 2 when he went onto the stage at a performance festival and danced spontaneously to a positive response from the crowd. He was also motivated to learn acting by his stepbrother's appearance in a television commercial, for which Ferrara earned $50,000. DiCaprio has said in interviews that his first television appearance was in the children's series Romper Room, and that he was dismissed from the show for being disruptive. However, the show's host has denied that any children were removed from the show in this way. At 14, he began appearing in several commercials for Matchbox cars, which he calls his first role. DiCaprio later appeared in commercials for Kraft Singles, Bubble Yum, and Apple Jacks. In 1989, he played the role of Glenn in 2 episodes of the television show The New Lassie. At the beginning of his career, DiCaprio had difficulty finding an agent. When he found one, he suggested DiCaprio change his name to Lenny Williams to appeal to American audiences, which he declined to do. DiCaprio remained jobless for a year and a half, even after 100 auditions. Following this lack of success, DiCaprio decided to give up acting, but his father persuaded him to persevere with it. Motivated by his father and financial security, he continued to audition. After a talent agent, who knew his mother's friend, recommended him to casting directors, DiCaprio secured roles in about 20 commercials. By the early 1990s, he began acting regularly on television, starting with a role in the pilot of The Outsiders 1990 and one episode of the soap opera Santa Barbara 1990, in which he played a teenage alcoholic. DiCaprio's career prospects improved when he was cast in Parenthood, a series based on the 1989 comedy film of the same name. To prepare for the role of Gary Beckman, a troubled teenager, he analyzed Joaquin Phoenix's performance in the original film. His work that year earned him 2 nominations at the 12th Youth in Film Awards: Best Young Actor in a Daytime Series for Santa Barbara and Best Young Actor starring in a new television series for Parenthood. Around this time, he was a contestant on the children's game show Fun House, on which he performed several stunts, including catching the fish inside a small pool using only his teeth. Career 1991 to 1996. Early work and breakthrough. DiCaprio made his film debut later that year as the stepson of an unscrupulous landlord in the low-budget horror sequel Critters 3, a part he later described as your average, no-depth, standard kid with blonde hair. DiCaprio has stated that he prefers not to remember Critters 3, viewing it as possibly one of the worst films of all time and the kind of role he wanted to ignore in the future. Later in 1991, he became a recurring cast member on the sitcom Growing Pains, playing Luke Brower, a homeless boy who is taken in by the show's central family. Co-star Joanna Kearns recalls DiCaprio being especially intelligent and disarming for his age, but she noted that he was also mischievous and jocular on set, and often made fun of his co-stars. DiCaprio was cast by the producers to appeal to young female audience members, but his arrival did not improve the show's ratings and he left before the end of its run. He said, "The new writing was awful. Either that, or I'm not sexy at all." He was nominated for a Young Artist Award for Best Young Actor co-starring in a television series. DiCaprio also had an uncredited role in 1991 in one episode of Roseanne. In 1992, DiCaprio had a brief role in the first installment of the Poison Ivy film series, and was handpicked by Robert Nero from a short list of 400 young actors to co-star with him in This Boy's Life. Adapted from the memoir by Tobias Wolff, the film focuses on the relationship between a rebellious teenager, Toby DiCaprio, and his mother Ellen Barkin and abusive stepfather Nero. Director Michael Caton-Jones said that DiCaprio did not know how to behave on set, leading Caton-Jones to apply a strict mentoring style, after which DiCaprio's behavior began to improve. Bill Gigiri of Rolling Stone found that the powerful bond between Barkin and DiCaprio elevated the film, praising DiCaprio's portrayal of his character's complex growth from a rebellious teen to an independent young man. DiCaprio played the developmentally disabled brother of Johnny Depp's character in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, a comedy drama about a dysfunctional Iowa family. Caton-Jones recommended DiCaprio to director Lasse Hallström, but he was initially skeptical, as he considered DiCaprio too good-looking for the part. Hallström cast DiCaprio after he emerged as the most observant auditionee. To ensure authenticity in his portrayal, DiCaprio studied similarly impaired children and their mannerisms, and Hallström allowed him to create the character using his own researched attributes. The film became a critical success. At 19, DiCaprio earned a National Board of Review Award, as well as nominations for a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, making him the seventh youngest Oscar nominee in the category. The film's real show-stopping turn comes from Mr. DiCaprio, wrote New York Times critic Janet Maslin, who makes Arnie's many tics so startling and vivid that at first he is difficult to watch. The performance has a sharp, desperate intensity from beginning to end. Karan James, also writing for the New York Times, said of his performances in This Boy's Life and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, he made the raw, emotional neediness of those boys completely natural and powerful. DiCaprio's first role of 1995 was in Sam Raimi's western The Quick and the Dead. When Sony Pictures became dubious over DiCaprio's casting, co-star Sharon Stone paid his salary herself. The film was released to dismal box office performance and mixed reviews from critics. DiCaprio next starred as a teenage Jim Carroll, portraying a drug-addicted high school basketball player and budding writer in the biopic The Basketball Diaries. Also in 1995, DiCaprio co-starred with David Thewlis in Agnieszka Holland's erotic drama Total Eclipse, a fictionalized account of the homosexual relationship between Arthur Rimbaud DiCaprio and Paul Verlaine Thewlis. He was cast as Rimbaud when River Phoenix died before filming began. Although the film failed commercially, it has been included in the catalog of the Warner Archive Collection, which releases classic and cult films from Warner Bros. Library on home video. DiCaprio next starred opposite Claire Danes in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet 1996, an abridged modernization of William Shakespeare's romantic tragedy, which retained the original Shakespearean dialogue. The film grossed $147 million worldwide and earned DiCaprio a Silver Bear for Best Actor at the 1997 Berlin International Film Festival. DiCaprio was initially unsure about another Romeo and Juliet adaptation, but at his father's suggestion, he agreed to examine Luhrmann's work more closely. DiCaprio and Luhrmann then spent a 2-week workshop exchanging ideas, which led to the collaboration. Reviewing DiCaprio's early works, David Thompson of The Guardian called DiCaprio a revelation in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, very moving in This Boy's Life, suitably desperate in The Basketball Diaries, and a vile spark in Romeo plus Juliet. Author Douglas White believed Romeo plus Juliet was a turning point in DiCaprio's career, as suddenly he'd combined credibility with popularity and Hollywood had itself a new superstar in the making. Later in 1996, DiCaprio portrayed a young man who has been committed to a mental asylum in Marvin's Room, a family drama about two estranged sisters, played by Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton, who are reunited through tragedy. He played Hank, the troubled son of Streep's character. Lisa Schwartzbaum of Entertainment Weekly praised the deeply gifted DiCaprio for holding his own against veteran actresses Keaton and Streep, describing the three as full-bodied and so powerfully affecting that you're carried along on the pleasure of being in the presence of their extraordinary talent. 1997 to 2001. Titanic and worldwide recognition. Leo Mania redirects here. DiCaprio rejected a role in Boogie Nights 1997 to star opposite Kate Winslet in James Cameron's Titanic as members of different social classes who fall in love aboard RMS Titanic during its ill-fated maiden voyage. DiCaprio initially had doubts but was eventually encouraged by Cameron to pursue the part. With a production budget of more than $200 million, the film was the most expensive in history at the time and was shot at Rosarito, Baja California, where a replica of the ship was created. Titanic became the highest-grossing film at the time, eventually earning more than $2.1 billion in box office receipts worldwide. The role of Jack Dawson transformed DiCaprio into a superstar, resulting in intense adoration among teenage girls and young women in general that became known as Leo Mania. The film won 11 Academy Awards, most wins for any film, including Best Picture. But DiCaprio's failure to gain a nomination led to a protest against the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences impasse by more than 200 fans. He was nominated for other high-profile awards, including a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor. DiCaprio stated in 2000, "I have no connection with me during that whole Titanic phenomenon, and what my face became around the world. I'll never reach that state of popularity again. And I don't expect to. It's not something I'm going to try to achieve either." In his 2015 Rolling Stone article, a jury called the role DiCaprio's best, writing that he and Winslet infused their earnest back and forth with so much genuine emotion that it's hard not to get swept up in their doomed love affair. A writer for Vanity Fair in 2008 similarly labeled them Hollywood's most iconic screen couple since Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Essaying her first viewing of the film in 2017, Vox contributor Alyssa Wilkinson took note of DiCaprio's boyish charm and found his performance natural and unaffected. The success of Titanic intensified DiCaprio's standing as a teen idol and romantic lead, an image from which he sought to dissociate himself. He reduced his workload to learn to hear his own voice in choosing the roles that he wanted to pursue. DiCaprio had a brief featured role in Woody Allen's 1998 satire of fame, Celebrity. A jury labeled DiCaprio the best thing in the film. That year, he also took on the dual roles of villainous King Louis Ivy and his secret, sympathetic twin brother Felipe in Randall Wallace's The Man in the Iron Mask, with common elements from the 1939 film of the same name and a 1929 film with Douglas Fairbanks. It received mixed to negative reviews, but grossed $180 million against a budget of $35 million. Entertainment Weekly critic Owen Gleiberman wrote that DiCaprio did not look old enough to play the part but praised him as a fluid and instinctive actor, with the face of a mischievous angel. The Guardian's Alex von Kunzelman was similarly impressed with the actor's performance but found his talent wasted in the film. DiCaprio won a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Screen Couple for the dual roles in 1999. Also in 1998, DiCaprio was cast to star in American Psycho 2000 for a reported salary of $20 million. After disagreements with Oliver Stone on the film's direction, DiCaprio left the project, taking the lead role in The Beach instead. Adapted from Alex Garland's 1996 novel, the film saw him play a backpacking American tourist who ends up in a secret island commune in the Gulf of Thailand. Budgeted at $50 million, the film earned almost 3 times that at the box office, but was negatively reviewed by critics, and earned him a nomination for the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor. Todd McCarthy of Variety thought DiCaprio gave a compelling performance, but his character lacked defining qualities. In the mid-1990s, DiCaprio agreed to be in the mostly improvised black and white short film Don's Plum as a favor to aspiring director Rob. When Rob expanded it to a full-length film, DiCaprio and co-star Tobey Maguire had its release blocked in the US and Canada by court order, arguing they never intended to make a feature film. The film premiered at the 2001 Berlin International Film Festival but remains obscure. 2002 to 2009. Venture into film production, DiCaprio turned down the role of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones 2002. Feeling unprepared to take that dive at the time. His first film that year was the biopic Catch Me If You Can, based on the life of Frank Abagnale Jr., who before his 19th birthday committed check fraud to make millions in the 1960s. Directed by Steven Spielberg, the film was shot across 147 different locations in 52 days, making it the most adventurous, supercharged movie-making DiCaprio had experienced yet. The film received critical acclaim, and with a worldwide gross of $355 million against a budget of $52 million, it became his second highest-grossing release after Titanic. Roger Ebert praised his departure from dark and troubled characters, and to Entertainment Weekly critics in 2018 called it DiCaprio's best role, labeling him delightfully persuasive, deceptive, flirtatious, and sometimes tragic, and we dare you to find a better role, if you can. DiCaprio received his third Golden Globe nomination for his performance in the film. Also in 2002, DiCaprio starred in Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, a historical drama set in the mid-19th century in the Five Points district of New York City. Scorsese initially struggled selling his idea of realizing the film until DiCaprio became interested in starring in the film, and thus Miramax Films got involved with financing the project. Nonetheless, production on the film was plagued by overshooting of budgets and producer-director disagreements, resulting in an 8-month shoot. With a budget of $103 million, the film was the most expensive Scorsese had ever made. DiCaprio was drawn to playing Amsterdam Vallen, the young leader of an Irish-American street gang, as it marked a shift from boyish roles to a mature leading man. Gangs of New York earned $193 million worldwide and received positive critical response. And Thompson of The Observer took note of DiCaprio's low-key, sturdy performance, but felt that co-star Daniel Day-Lewis overshadowed him. In 2004, DiCaprio founded the production company Appian Way Productions, a namesake of the Italian road. He was interested in finding unique source material and preserving its essence during development, citing previous experiences where too many people influenced the final product in a negative way. DiCaprio first executive produced The Assassination of Richard Nixon, which starred Sean Penn as Samuel Byck, and was screened at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival. DiCaprio and Scorsese reunited for a biopic of Howard Hughes, an American film director and aviation pioneer suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder, in The Aviator 2004, which DiCaprio also co-produced under Appian Way. He initially developed the project with Michael Mann, who was eventually replaced by Scorsese. The Aviator became a critical and financial success, grossing $213 million against its budget of $110 million. Simon Brand of Empire thought DiCaprio convincingly played a complex role and highlighted the scenes depicting Hughes's paranoia and obsession. He received his first Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture Drama, and nominations for an Academy Award, a BAFTA Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. In 2006, DiCaprio starred in the crime film The Departed and the political war thriller Blood Diamond. In Scorsese's The Departed, DiCaprio played the role of Billy Costigan, a state trooper working undercover in the Irish mob in Boston, someone he characterizes as in a constant 24-hour panic attack. DiCaprio especially liked the experience of working with co-star Jack Nicholson, describing a scene with him as one of the most memorable moments of his life as an actor. In preparation, he visited Boston to interact with people associated with the Irish mob and gained 15 pounds 6.8 kilograms of muscle. Critically acclaimed, the film grossed $291 million against a budget of $90 million, becoming DiCaprio and Scorsese's highest-grossing collaboration to that point. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone praised DiCaprio's and co-star Matt Damon's performances as explosive, emotionally complex, but felt that Nicholson overshadowed the two. Despite DiCaprio's leading role in The Departed, the film's distributor Warner Bros. Pictures submitted his performance for a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the impasse to avoid internal conflict with his part in Blood Diamond. Instead, his co-star Mark Wahlberg was nominated, though DiCaprio earned other accolades for The Departed, including a Satellite Award for Best Supporting Actor and Best Actor nominations at the Golden Globes and BAFTA Awards. In Blood Diamond, DiCaprio starred as a diamond smuggler from Rhodesia who is involved in the Sierra Leone Civil War. While filming, he worked with 24 orphan children from the SOS Children's Village in Maputo, Mozambique, and said he was touched by his interactions with them. To prepare, he spent 6 months in Africa, learned about camouflage from people in South African military, and interviewed and recorded people in the country to improve his accent. The film received generally favorable reviews, and DiCaprio was noted for his South African accent, which is generally known as difficult to imitate. Claudia Puig of the USA Today approvingly highlighted DiCaprio's transition from a boy to a man on screen, and Ann Hornaday of the Washington Post similarly noted his growth as an actor since The Departed. DiCaprio received nominations for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Blood Diamond. In 2007, DiCaprio produced the comedy drama Gardener of Eden, which according to The Hollywood Reporter's Frank Sheck lacked the necessary dramatic urgency or black humor to connect with audiences. Later that year, he produced, co-wrote, and narrated The 11th Hour, a documentary on the state of the natural environment that won the Earthwatch Environmental Film Award in 2008. DiCaprio's Appian Way produced Planet Green's Greensburg 2008 to 2010, which ran for 3 seasons. Set in Greensburg, Kansas, it is about rebuilding the town in a sustainable way after being hit by the May 2007 F5 tornado. Also in 2008, DiCaprio starred in Body of Lies, a spy film based on the novel of the same name. He played one of 3 agents battling a terrorist organization in the Middle East. Considering the film to be a throwback to political features of the 1970s like the Parallax View 1974 and 3 Days of the Condor 1975, DiCaprio dyed his hair brown and wore brown contacts for the role. The film received mixed reviews from critics and grossed $118 million against a budget of $67.5 million. Later in 2008, DiCaprio collaborated with Kate Winslet for the drama Revolutionary Road, directed by her then-husband Sam Mendes. As both actors had been reluctant to make romantic films similar to Titanic, it was Winslet who suggested that they both work with her on a film adaptation of the 1961 eponymous novel by Richard Yates. As she had read the script by Justin Haythe, she found that the plot had little in common with the 1997 blockbuster. Playing a couple in a failing marriage in the 1950s, DiCaprio and Winslet spent some time together in preparation, and DiCaprio felt claustrophobic on the small set they used. He saw his character as unheroic, slightly cowardly, and someone willing to be just a product of his environment. Peter Travers liked DiCaprio's pairing with Winslet and his multi-layered portrayal of an overwhelmed character, and Marshall Sell of GQ called it the most mature and memorable performance of his lifetime. Although the film received mixed reviews, it was a commercial success. DiCaprio earned his 7th Golden Globes nomination for the film. Revolutionary Road grossed $75.9 million against its budget of $35 million. He ended the 2000s by producing director Jan Kalat-Serra's psychological horror thriller film Orphan 2009, starring Vera Farmiga, his co-star in The Departed, Peter Sarsgaard, and Isabel Foreman. 2010 to 2013. Films with high-profile directors. DiCaprio continued to collaborate with Scorsese in the 2010 psychological thriller film Shutter Island, based on the 2003 novel of the same name by Dennis Lehane. He played Edward Teddy Daniels, a U.S. Marshal investigating a psychiatric facility located on an island, who comes to question his own sanity. DiCaprio and Scorsese became interested in the project in 2007, and the former co-produced the film under Appian Way with Phoenix Pictures. Because of the film's disturbing scenes, DiCaprio had nightmares of mass murder during production and considered relaxing with his friend's therapy. The film was released to mixed reviews. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian praised Scorsese's direction and the acting but criticized its twist ending. Peter Travers called it DiCaprio's most haunting and emotionally complex performance yet, and particularly liked his cave scene with co-star Patricia Clarkson. The film was a commercial success, grossing $294 million worldwide against a budget of $80 million. DiCaprio's second role in 2010 was in Christopher Nolan's critically acclaimed ensemble science fiction film Inception, inspired by the experience of lucid dreaming and dream incubation. The film features Dom Cobb DiCaprio, an extractor who enters the dreams of others to obtain information that is otherwise inaccessible. Cobb is promised a chance to regain his old life in exchange for planting an idea in a corporate target's mind. DiCaprio was fascinated with the idea of a dream heist and the potential for his character to manipulate his dream world and impact his real life. Made on a budget of $160 million, the film grossed $836 million worldwide to become DiCaprio's second highest-grossing film. To star in this film, DiCaprio agreed to a pay cut from his $20 million fee and opted for a share in first-dollar gross points, which entitled him to a percentage of the cinema ticket sales. The risk proved fruitful, as DiCaprio earned $50 million from the film, becoming his highest payday yet. After playing demanding roles in Shutter Island and Inception, DiCaprio took a small break from acting to have some time for himself, returning the following November in Clint Eastwood's J. Edgar 2011, a biopic about J. Edgar Hoover. The film focuses on the career of the FBI director, including an examination of his private life as an alleged closeted homosexual. Critics felt that the film lacked coherence overall but commended DiCaprio's performance. Roger Ebert praised DiCaprio's ability to bring depth and nuance to the character, suggesting that his performance conveyed aspects of Hoover's personality that were possibly even unknown to the man himself. Also in 2011, he produced Catherine Hardwicke's romantic horror film Red Riding Hood. Though it was named one of the 10 worst films of 2011 by Time magazine, it had moderate box office returns. Also that year, DiCaprio's Appian Way produced George Clooney's political drama The Ides of March, an adaptation of Beau Williams's 2008 play Farragut North. In 2012, DiCaprio starred as plantation owner Calvin Candy in Quentin Tarantino's spaghetti western, Django Unchained. After reading the script, DiCaprio felt uncomfortable with the extent of racism portrayed in the film, but his co-stars and Tarantino convinced him not to sugarcoat it. While filming, DiCaprio accidentally cut his hand on glass, but continued filming, and Tarantino elected to use the take in the final product. The film received critical acclaim. A writer for Wired magazine commended him for playing a villainous role and found his performance blood-killing. The film earned DiCaprio a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Django Unchained grossed $425 million worldwide on a production budget of $100 million. In January 2013, DiCaprio said he would take a long break from acting to fly around the world doing good for the environment. That year, he had 4 releases as an actor and a producer. His first was in the role of millionaire Jay Gatsby in Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, an adaptation of F. Scott Fitzgerald's 1925 novel of the same name, co-starring Carey Mulligan and Tobey Maguire. DiCaprio liked the idea of playing a man who realizes his imaginations, someone he characterized as a hopeless romantic, a completely obsessed wacko, or a dangerous gangster, clinging to wealth. The film received mixed reviews from critics, but DiCaprio's performance was praised and earned him the AACTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Critic Rafer Guzman of Newsday wrote that DiCaprio was not only tough, but also vulnerable, touching, funny, a faker, a human. It's a tremendous, hard-won performance. Matt Zoller Sites of Roger Ebert's website described his performance as the movie's greatest and simplest special effect. and iconic may be his career best. The film grossed $353 million worldwide, more than 3 times its budget. 3 films were produced by DiCaprio under Appian Way in 2013, the ensemble crime thriller Runner, which The Guardian's Sean Brooks described as a lazy, trashy film that barely goes through the motions. The commercially failed thriller Out of the Furnace, and the black comedy drama The Wolf of Wall Street. DiCaprio reunited with Scorsese for the 5th time in The Wolf of Wall Street, a film based on the life of stockbroker Jordan Belfort, played by DiCaprio, who was arrested in the late 1990s for securities fraud and money laundering. DiCaprio wanted to play Belfort ever since he had read his autobiography and won a bidding war with Warner Bros. Against Brad Pitt and Paramount Pictures for the rights to Belfort's memoir in 2007. He was fond of Belfort's honest and unapologetic portrayal of his actual experiences in the book and was inspired by the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008 to make the film. The Wolf of Wall Street received highly positive reviews for Scorsese's and DiCaprio's work together. The Hollywood Reporter's Todd McCarthy lauded DiCaprio for fully realizing his character's potential with a carefree performance. The film earned him the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, and nominations for a BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, as well as Academy Awards for Best Actor and Best Picture. 2014 present. Environmental documentaries and awards success. DiCaprio was an executive producer on Virunga, a 2014 British documentary film about 4 people fighting to protect the world's last mountain gorillas from war and poaching. The film premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in April 2014, and DiCaprio was nominated for the 2015 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Special. Cowspiracy. The Sustainability Secret was another documentary film that year for which he was an executive producer, took part in the new cut released exclusively on Netflix that September. It explores the impact of animal agriculture on the environment. In 2015, DiCaprio produced and played fur trapper Hugh Glass and Alejandro G. Inarritu's survival drama The Revenant. DiCaprio found his role in the film difficult. He had to eat a raw slab of bison's liver and sleep in animal carcasses. He also learned to shoot a musket, build a fire, speak 2 Native American languages, Pawnee and Arikara, and apply ancient healing techniques. Built on a budget of $135 million, the film earned $533 million worldwide. The film received positive reviews with particular praise for DiCaprio's acting. Mark Kermode of The Guardian wrote that DiCaprio shone with a performance that prioritizes physicality over speech, and Nick Semion of Empire noted that he uplifted the film. The film earned him numerous awards, including an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and a Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor. For the next 3 years, DiCaprio narrated documentaries and served as a producer for films. In 2016, he was an executive producer for The Ivory Game and Catching the Sun, and produced, hosted, and narrated the documentary Before the Flood about climate change. He produced the crime drama Live by Night 2016, which received unenthusiastic reviews and failed to recoup its $65 million production budget. His next production ventures were in 2018 the psychological horror Delirium and the commercially failed action-adventure Robin Hood. After producing and narrating the 2019 global warming documentary Ice on Fire, DiCaprio returned to acting following a 4-year break in Quentin Tarantino's comedy drama Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which traces the relationship between Rick Dalton DiCaprio, an aging television actor, and his stuntman, Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt. To help the film's financing, DiCaprio and Pitt agreed to take a pay cut, and they each received $10 million. DiCaprio liked working with Pitt, and Tarantino described the pair as the most exciting since Robert Redford and Paul Newman. DiCaprio was fascinated with the film's homage to Hollywood and focus on the friendship between his and Pitt's characters. He drew from real-life experience of witnessing the struggles and rejections of his actor friends in the industry. The film premiered at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival, where critics praised his and Pitt's performances. A writer for Business Insider called it one of the best performances of DiCaprio's career, and Ian Sandwell of Digital Spy particularly liked the duo's chemistry, believing their scenes together to be some of the film's strongest parts. DiCaprio received nominations for an Oscar, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Actor. The film earned $374 million against a budget of $90 million. In 2020, DiCaprio served as an executive producer for The Right Stuff, a television series adaptation of the 1973 namesake book. After being in development at National Geographic, it was released on Disney+. That May, DiCaprio briefly featured in the finale of the miniseries The Last Dance. In 2021, DiCaprio appeared in Adam McKay's satirical comedy Don't Look Up. He spent 5 months changing the film's script with McKay before agreeing to the part. Starring alongside Jennifer Lawrence as two astronomers attempting to warn humanity about an extinction-level comet, DiCaprio saw this film as an analogy of the world's indifference to the climate crisis. As a frequent supporter of environmentalism, DiCaprio said he has often looked to star in and make films tackling issues related to it, something he found hard due to people's inability to listen. He praised McKay for envisioning a project on how humans would react to a serious issue from a political, social, and scientific standpoint. While reviews for the film were mixed, most critics praised DiCaprio's and Lawrence's performances. Journalists from Digital Spy and NDTV lauded their pairing as energetic and delightful. DiCaprio earned nominations for a Golden Globe and a BAFTA Award for the film. It broke the record for the most views, 152 million hours in a single week in Netflix history. DiCaprio next starred in Scorsese's crime drama Killers of the Flower Moon 2023 based on the book of the same name by David Grann, for which he was paid $30 million. Initially signed for the heroic part of FBI agent Tom White, DiCaprio insisted on playing the morally complex role of Ernest Burke Hart, the nephew of murderer William Hale, leading to extensive script rewrites. Terming it the best performance of DiCaprio's career, IndieWire's David Ehrlich wrote that his nuanced and uncompromising turn as the cretinous Ernest Burke Hart mines new wonders from the actor's long-standing lack of vanity, reception, and acting style. Early in his career, DiCaprio gained a reputation for his reckless behavior and intense partying with a group of male celebrities dubbed the Poozy Posse in the 1990s. In an infamous article published by New York Magazine in 1998, journalist Nancy Jo Sales criticized the group as men whose pursuit was to chase girls, pick fights, and not tip the waitress. During an unknown activity, DiCaprio got himself and friend Justin Hurwitz almost killed when his parachute failed to open, after which his instructor released an emergency call. In response, DiCaprio said he is fond of doing things that scare him. John McCain, who was a United States Senator for Arizona, called him an androgynous wimp. DiCaprio found people's perception of him exaggerated, adding, "They want you miserable, just like them. They don't want heroes. What they want is to see you fall." Steven Spielberg, who directed him in Catch Me If You Can, defended DiCaprio's reputation as a party boy, believing it is a common behavior for young people and describing him as a family-oriented person during the film's production. Considering DiCaprio to be conscious of his public reputation, the New York Times' Karen James credited him as one of the few actors to use his stardom to further social causes. Carole Cadwalader of The Guardian said DiCaprio is polite, charming, makes jokes, engages eye contact, and manages to give almost no hint whatsoever of his actual personality. DiCaprio is regarded as one of the finest actors of his generation. In a 2022 readers' poll by Empire, he was voted one of the 50 greatest actors of all time. The magazine praised his willingness to go to the ends of the earth, often literally to get under his character's skin. Colin Covert of the Seattle Times similarly believed DiCaprio redefines film stardom through his willingness to take on challenging roles that few of his contemporaries are capable of performing. Since his international stardom with Titanic 1997, he has admitted feeling nervous to star in big-budget studio films because of their hype and marketing campaigns. As an actor, he views film as a relevant art form, like a painting or sculpture. 100 years from now, people will still be watching that movie. He often plays roles based on real-life people and stories told in specific periods. According to Karen James, DiCaprio is unafraid of working with established directors on unconventional projects. Taking such risks has led him to star in failed films like The Beach 2000, but also his successful collaborations with Martin Scorsese. DiCaprio has described his relationship with him as dreamlike and admires his knowledge of film, crediting Scorsese with having taught him its history and importance. Scorsese has commented on DiCaprio's ability to repeatedly demonstrate emotion on screen. Jesse Hassinger of the AV Club considers the duo's collaborations which earned them the 2013 National Board of Review Spotlight Award to be career-defining moments for both of them, and as vital as Scorsese's acclaimed collaborations with Robert De Niro. Author Michael K. Hammond wrote that DiCaprio built his star reputation by demonstrating his acting ability and praised him for revealing a character while concealing the actor and disappearing into his roles. According to Agnieszka Holland, who directed DiCaprio in Total Eclipse 1995, DiCaprio is one of the most mature actors she has worked with and is courageous in his choice of roles. Holland remarked that he does not rely on method acting, but rather on a trick that allows him to truly become the character. Meryl Streep, who co-starred with DiCaprio in Marvin's Room, said he possesses the kind of unpredictability that makes his career difficult to classify, his life precarious and his work thrilling. Writing for The Observer, film critic Philip French has identified a theme of characters in the process of becoming a man. He wrote that DiCaprio's inclination toward films about dysfunctional families and characters seeking a father figure may allude to his own troubled childhood. DiCaprio often plays characters who themselves are playing roles, which Karen James says looks simple on screen but is a rather sophisticated acting. He tends to play anti-heroes and characters who lose their mental stability as the narrative progresses, as noted by Derek Thompson of The Atlantic, who further argued that DiCaprio gave his best performances when playing frauds and cheats and double-crossing liars and mercenaries. Several media publications, such as People, Empire, and Harper's Bazaar, have included DiCaprio in their listings of the most attractive actors. In 1998, he sued Playgirl magazine over plans to publish a fully nude picture of him. He has said he does not believe in focusing on appearances. This is only temporary and can negatively affect one's profession in the industry and looks for career longevity instead. In 2005, DiCaprio was made a Commander of the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres by the French Minister of Culture for his contributions to the arts. In 2016, he was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. He was included on Forbes' annual list of the world's highest-paid actors in 2008 and from 2010 to 2016 with respective earnings of $45 million, $28 million, $77 million, $37 million, $39 million, $29 million, and $27 million, topping the list in 2011. The magazine has commended DiCaprio's ability to star in risky, R-rated films that become box office successes. The Hollywood Reporter listed him as one of the 100 most powerful people in entertainment from 2016 to 2019. A writer for the same magazine credits DiCaprio as the rare actor to have a successful career without ever having made a comic book movie, family film, or pre-branded franchise. Leo is the franchise. Stacey Wilson Hunt, analyzing his career in New York Magazine in 2016, noted DiCaprio, unlike most of his contemporaries, had not starred in a failed film in the previous 10 years. Of his success, DiCaprio says, "My attitude is the same as when I started. I feel very connected to that 15-year-old kid who got his first movie. DiCaprio has named Robert De Niro and James Dean as two of his favorite and most influential actors, stating there were a lot of great actors I really fell in love with. But if I were to pick two, from different generations, it would be De Niro and James Dean. When asked about a performance that stayed with him the most, DiCaprio responded, "I remember being incredibly moved by Jimmy Dean in East of Eden. There was something so raw and powerful about that performance. His vulnerability, his confusion about his entire history, his identity, his desperation to be loved. That performance just broke my heart." Other ventures. Activism. Identified as one of the most active people in the climate change movement, DiCaprio believes global warming is the world's #1 environmental challenge. He received the 2001 Martin Litton Environment Award from Environment Now and the 2003 Entertainment Industry Environmental Leadership Award from Global Green USA. Eager to learn about ecology from an early age, he would watch documentaries on rainforest depletion and the loss of species and habitats. In 1998, he established the Leonardo Dicaprio Foundation, a nonprofit organization devoted to promoting environmental awareness. It supports organizations and campaigns committed to ensuring a viable future for planet Earth and produced the short web documentaries Water Planet and Global Warming. The foundation has also funded Debt for Nature swaps. He has been an active supporter of numerous environmental organizations and sat on the board of the World Wildlife Fund and International Fund for Animal Welfare. DiCaprio has owned environment-friendly electric hybrid vehicles. His use of private jets and large yachts have been criticized as hypocritical due to their large carbon footprints. DiCaprio chaired the National Earth Day celebration in 2000 where he interviewed Bill Clinton, and they discussed plans to deal with global warming and the environment. He presented at the 2007 American leg of Live Earth. DiCaprio donated $1 million to the Wildlife Conservation Society at Russia's Tiger Summit. DiCaprio's persistence in reaching the event after encountering two plane delays caused then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin to describe him as a music or Ray All man. In 2013, he organized a benefit fine art auction, 11th Hour, which raised nearly $38.8 million for his foundation. In September 2014, United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon designated DiCaprio as a United Nations Messenger of Peace with a focus on climate change. Later that month, he made an opening statement to members of the UN Climate Summit. In 2015, he announced his intention to divest from fossil fuels. He again spoke at the UN in April 2016 prior to the signing of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. At a 2016 meeting with Pope Francis, DiCaprio donated to charity and discussed environmental issues with him. A few days later, possibly influenced by this meeting, the Pope said he would act in a charity film. DiCaprio traveled to Indonesia in early 2016 where he criticized the government's palm oil industry's slash-and-burn forest clearing methods. In July 2016, his foundation donated $15.6 million to help protect wildlife and the rights of Native Americans, along with mitigating climate change. That October, DiCaprio joined Mark Ruffalo in support of the Standing Rock tribe's opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline. In April 2017, DiCaprio protested against President Donald Trump's inaction on climate change by attending the People's Climate March. In July, a charity auction and celebrity concert arranged by DiCaprio's foundation had raised over $30 million in one night. The DiCaprio Foundation donated $100 million in December 2018 to fight climate change. In May 2021, DiCaprio pledged $43 million to enact conservation operations across the Galapagos Islands. As part of his effort, Paul A. Castano, a wildlife veterinarian and island restoration expert, took over his social media accounts. Political views: DiCaprio endorsed Hillary Clinton for the 2016 presidential election. In March 2020, DiCaprio attended a fundraiser for Joe Biden at the home of Paramount Pictures executive Sherry Lansing. Prior to the 2020 election, DiCaprio narrated a Netflix documentary series about voting rights, stating, "All of us may have been created equal, but we'll never actually be equal until we all vote. So don't wait." On social media, DiCaprio urged voters to make a plan to cast their ballots and to draw attention to voter suppression and restrictive voter ID laws, citing vote riders as a source of information and assistance. In 2023, DiCaprio testified during the trial against Park Carmichael, who is being accused of participating in a foreign influence campaign that was aimed at the Obama and Trump administrations. Philanthropy. In 1998, DiCaprio and his mother donated $35,000 for a Leonardo Dicaprio computer center at the library in Los Feliz, the site of his childhood home. In May 2009, DiCaprio joined Kate Winslet, director James Cameron, and Canadian singer Celine Dion in a campaign to raise money to financially support the fees of the nursing home where Melvina Dean, a survivor of the RMS Titanic, was residing. DiCaprio and Winslet donated $20,000 to support Dean. In 2010, he donated $1 million to relief efforts in Haiti after the earthquake. In 2011, DiCaprio joined the Animal Legal Defense Fund's campaign to release Tony, a tiger that had spent the last decade at a truck stop in Grosset, Louisiana. DiCaprio donated $61,000 to the gay rights group GLAAD in 2013. In 2016, DiCaprio donated $65,000 to the annual fundraising gala for the Children of Armenia Fund, where he was a special guest of his friend and honorary chair, Tony Shafrazy. Supporting Hurricane Harvey 2017 relief efforts, DiCaprio provided $1 million through his foundation. In 2020, DiCaprio's foundation donated $3 million to Australia bushfire relief efforts. Amidst the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, the media announced DiCaprio donated $10 million to support Ukraine, although the news agency Associated Press suggested this amount was inaccurate. Personal life. DiCaprio's personal life is the subject of widespread media attention. He rarely grants interviews and is reticent to discuss his private life, but he has been the focus of various references detailing his involvement with women aged 25 or younger, for which he has faced criticism. In 1999, DiCaprio met Brazilian model Gisele Bündchen, whom he dated until 2005. He was romantically involved with Israeli model Bari Faili from 2005 to 2011. He later dated German fashion model Toni Garn from 2013 to 2014 and later in 2017. DiCaprio was in a relationship with American model and actress Camilla Morrone from c. 2017 until 2022. DiCaprio owns houses in Los Angeles and apartments in New York City. In 2009, he bought an island, Blackador Cay, off mainland Belize, on which he is set to open an environment-friendly resort, and in 2014, he purchased the original Dinosaur residence designed by architect Donald Wexler in Palm Springs, California. In 2005, DiCaprio's face was severely injured when modeler Etha Wilson hit him over the head with a broken bottle at a Hollywood party. As a result, he required 17 stitches to his face and neck. Wilson pleaded guilty to the assault and was sentenced in 2010 to 2 years in prison. In 2017, when The Wolf of Wall Street producer Red Granite Pictures was involved in the $1 million development Bershad scandal, DiCaprio turned over the gifts he received from business associates at the production company, including fugitive businessman Joe Low, to the U.S. government. These included a Best Actor Oscar trophy by Marlon Brando, a $3.2 million Pablo Picasso painting, and a $9 million Don Michel Basquiat collage.